Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie.
Attention, all true believers. Marvel Comics is on the air.
The friend of the unfortunate, enemy of criminals. In reality, Dan Garrett, a rookie patrolman, loved by everyone but suspected by none of being the Blue Beetle.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality. Faster than an airplane, more powerful than a locomotive, impervious to bullets.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and I am joined today by
Bigby McFly, the comic guy. I'm not gonna
aka Big D in the kids' table over there. If anybody gets that reference, let me know in chat. I'm curious if anybody remembers that band. Folks, we're back. I have to apologize. My health has been all over the place over the last couple months. Nothing major as far as serious life-threatening illnesses. Although I will say last week I was the sickest I've ever been in my entire life. And let's face it, I'm pretty sick. You know what I'm saying? No, but I was, I don't want to use the term deathly ill, but I was really feeling like, could pass out sick several times. Pretty bad. And the worst part about it, even though it kind of came on quickly and the majority of the really terrible symptoms left about 48 hours later, a lot of other stuff kept me down for like a week. I feel like I basically time traveled through an entire week. It was pretty terrible. So apologies for not having a show. Apologies to Bigby for canceling, his third show in about a month and a half or so. Apologies to everybody for that, but we're here now. And before we say how to chat, I just want to point out that we are streaming in a couple different places. If you're your first time watching, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate that. You should know that we're streaming on a couple different channels, like on YouTube, for example. We're streaming on my channel. I'm the Bronze Age Nerd. We talked about that at the beginning of the show. You might remember. We're also streaming on Bigby McFly's channel, as well as over on the EXP network of channels, which is right now, I think their YouTube channel, their Facebook, and their Twitch that we should be streaming on, probably Instagram Live as well. So yeah, that is basically the places you can go catch them. It's an entire network of comic book streaming places, shows that you should definitely watch. Highly recommended by Bigby and I. But we do want to say what's up to everybody, including our new first place champion 2 times in a row.
What?
Man, that's pretty impressive. First and second. What's up? Richard Westfall is in the house. Richard, thank you very much for reaching out to me, and you were very kind. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you. GT Key Comic, thank you for being here and holding down that silver place medal. Just like your profile picture there of G.I. Joe #2, you're in the #2 spot right now. So we appreciate that. And yeah, as the EXP, that's the channel name there if you're looking for it. Welcome in, everyone. Please be sure to hit those like, share, sub, and bell buttons. That's true for all 3 channels. It's really important to go do that. We do appreciate all of that support. What's up, John? John is one of the best in the community. Appreciate having you here. Awesome Sauce is in the house. Had a great conversation with Awesome Sauce a while back. Gonna try to do some stuff with him later on, but he's an awesome dude. He had a great time at the AVNs. I think we talked about that last time, but he had fun. He got sick too, though. And Psycho Phil, what's up, Psycho? Hey, there we go. Comic Clicker Coach knows Big D in the kids table. Yeah, I was saying I saw them at the 3rd stage at a Warp Tour in 2007, probably, or something. I guess I don't know, and I thought they were pretty cool. I liked them. Your show last week was the best one yet. If you saw my show last week, I apologize because you saw a show. Actual Dracula's here. We're going to talk about Dracula a little bit here in a second with some of the community art contest updates that kind of got put on pause. So we're going to talk about that. I should also point out, as we say hi to a couple of the other people streaming in here, Preston, what's up, Preston? Always appreciate you being here. Jay's in the house, of course. Back behind the stage, we got Lord of Brooklyn for life up in here. Salute to you as well. We do have a huge community art update that we needed to get around to. So definitely stick around for that. But we have a lot of news stories to talk about. If you saw in the thumbnail or the title, we're going to talk about the Rob Liefeld comment that he made and how he's feeling jilted by Marvel, specifically Kevin Feige. We're going to talk about the Thunderbolts trailer. We're going to talk about some news relating to comic book woes and tariffs and all kinds of things, right? There's a lot of news. We're also going to kind of be a little more conversational. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about just some kind of generic stuff, like our reaction to some of the Super Bowl trailers and commercials. I'm sure you saw some of those, right, Bigby?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we're going to just kind of chill and hang out a little bit. Hopefully you all are down for that. And next week, we do have an exciting topic that we were going to talk about last week. We're kind of kicking that forward to next week so we can prepare for it better. But we're going to talk about what your significant other or spouse or, girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, might think about your comic book collecting or your collecting in general and how you kind of navigate that. I think that'll be a fun topic. I definitely wanted to get more FaceTime with my wife where we weren't both sick or dealing with a sick kid. And we can kind of have that conversation, so I could better prepare. I wanted to bring her notes to that. There actually will be, believe it or not, some slightly obscure Sydney Sweeney talk.
I don't know if it's the same thing, but I spotted Sydney Sweeney this weekend.
Yeah. I think we have the same thing in mind. And they're actually, you know what? There'll be Sydney Sweeney talk only just to talk about Super Bowl commercials. Spoiler alert. But there'll also be, in a roundabout way, there'll be Roy Thomas conversation that's not just making fun of Roy Thomas. It actually is name dropped in one of the things we're going to talk about tonight. So our two staples that come up every week will be discussed.
Sydney and Roy.
Damn straight. Us perverts talking about Hellman's / Best Foods mayonnaise as we know it over here. Which, by the way, you know what? We're just going to talk about this now. Because we're dancing around it. Folks, if you don't know, there was a Super Bowl commercial about basically a recreation of When Harry Met Sally. And they brought back Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. And she's eating Hellman's mayonnaise on her sandwich. We're out here in the West Coast where it's called Best Foods mayonnaise, not Hellman's.
Right.
And it's just so annoying to see like Hellman's. Like I don't care what you call it, Hellman's or Best Food. I don't see if you go to the East Coast and you start talking about anything other than Hellman's, I think they usually make fun of you unless you're in New York where they like Duke's, I believe is kind of how it usually works. But just call it Best Foods or call it Hellman's. I hate this
one
like
or the other, right?
Yeah, this whole West Coast. He's got like
duality for the different coasts, right? Yeah,
right. Like Carl's Jr. and Hardee's is another one of those. Where it's like different depending on which side of the country you're on, but it's the same
food and Winco.
Thing. Yeah. They did Meg Ryan have her Joker face? She definitely had her Joker face.
Joker, yeah.
Okay, so we talked about that commercial a little bit. What do you think about that commercial, man?
I thought it was hilarious that Sydney Sweeney was at the very end of it, being
right.
Like, I'll have what she's having. Yeah, that was great.
It was actually the only part of that. Like at first, I was like, "Man, this feels like a reach." And obviously, that's a very famous movie moment for a certain generation. I guess probably not for younger people.
Right.
But at Meg Ryan, like I just felt like. It was weird because I felt like a little bit like she's phoning it in compared to the movie, the original scene.
It wasn't quite as over the top.
But then Billy Crystal says, "Oh, this is a real one," which is a good line. But I'm like, it literally pointed out that it's not as good as the original scene. But I mean, I guess it's kind of funny too because it's a mayonnaise commercial that you can read between the lines there a little bit.
Is also funny.
Yeah. In the middle of the country, it's called Carl's Jr. There you go.
Carl S. Jr.
Carl Jr.
Jr.
Mayonnaise is one of the most disgusting things. Not mankind. What's up with using mayonnaise on sandwiches? Oh no, I'm a mayo on sandwich guy. I'm surprised to hear this this take. I mean, obviously people have their own condiment preferences, and I don't fault them for it. I figure, that's just how it works. But I figure somebody named Awesome Sauce would probably know what's up with the sauce. But I will admit I'm a fan of the combined mayo. Like I like to mix mayo with a little Dijon mustard, or mix mayo with a little like sriracha or something like that. I like the
you're making your own sauce there.
Yeah, make my own awesome sauce, right? Ooh, we got the Miracle Whip hate coming in early already.
Miracle Whip.
Yeah, Miracle Whip. There's very few things I actually will enjoy a Miracle Whip on, but man, it is just strange.
When I was a kid, I liked Miracle Whip, but not so much anymore.
Yeah, I can appreciate the tang that it has, like that kind of sour tang that it has a little bit more, or not sour really, but like it just has more of an acidic flavor, I guess.
Appreciate the tang, huh?
you know me. So speaking of Sydney Sweeney, no, mayo is made by leaving eggs on the porch to rot, and then you have to somehow eat that. Yeah, you're thinking of cheese. That's how you make cheese. Everybody knows that. You leave milk out on the porch. It's all French, right? Like French invented all this stuff.
Isn't that from The Simpsons? We're out of special sauce. Put some mayo out in the sun.
That reminds me of what is it? Fast Times at the end. He's like, "Oh, what's your special sauce? Ours is Thousand Island." Or, "Oh, ours is mayo and ketchup." You know, that little joke. They used to call it Hardee's here, but we just call it closed for business now. Ouch,
No.
Mr. Nope. Yeah, okay. We got Carl's Jr. in Texas, and they have Hardee's in North Carolina. Yeah, it's by East Coast, I guess it'd be like east of the Mississippi, right? The whole
right.
But I don't know. I know, I'm sure people are going to disagree now. They're like, "Well, I'm in Ohio, and it's Hardee's out here." Duke's mayo is good, but not far off from Hellman's. We have some real sauce connoisseurs.
Fred Meyer's is something else on the East Coast too, right?
Kroger's,
right? That's it.
But isn't it Kroger's in California too?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yes, Prime says
he
has to put mayo on his sandwiches.
Am I thinking of
Ralph's? Okay. I was like, you have to put, like, you're forced. You will put the mayo on his sandwich.
No, sometimes he has to put mayo in his sandwiches, which is even more disturbing.
Sometimes put the mayo in his sandwich.
Honey mustard is a nectar of the gods, makes any food taste amazing.
I do like some honey mustard.
Oh, Jay worked for Kroger's. That's cool. I mean, yeah, what is it? Safeway and Albertsons merged, and Kroger's and Fred Meyer merged, I think.
Right.
Man. Giant mega corporations. Speaking of something that's completely different, why don't we talk about community art and where we're at with that?
Yeah, let's do that.
So, folks, we do have our community art contest running right now, or a competition, if you want to call it that. We got down to the final four in the semifinals. Can zoom in a little bit more on that. Actual Dracula versus Colossus Collector, and Norin Rad versus Roscoe, which, by the way, shout out to Colossus Collector. They were live for Council of X earlier, right?
Yep. They should be just wrapping that up, I think.
Okay.
Or just wrapped it up.
Always go sub up to our friends we talk about here, Colossus Collector and the Council of X, which Bigby, you're a member of the Council of X too, right? Like,
yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm an honorary member that's never appeared, maybe, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, you still have to be interviewed on the show.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they decide to run at the same time we do, but for all the other great content they do, go sub up all those channels that are part of that. There's lots of great people, and definitely go check them out. So, looking at, let's see, I gotta go to my Instagram here, which is a dark and scary place. And just kidding. And so this is the actual Dracula versus Colossus Collector. I think if I remember correctly, Drac took this pretty easily, but I just want to make sure we didn't miss any votes that came in, since I didn't officially announce an end time for it. I see a few Colossuses, but Dracula is just over and over and over and over and over here. So
Pretty
Dracula,
overwhelmingly Drac on that one.
yeah, definitely a Drac-tastic situation. So Adrian, if you're still in here watching, congratulations, you're moving on to the final, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your art, both to Ryan and to Adrian, for doing that. We really appreciate it.
I think Ryan is probably surprised because he had done that artwork quite a while ago, he said, and he's thinking of picking up the tools again now that he's been in this contest. So,
well, I think he was surprised specifically that his art got this far. It sounded like he was kind of like, wow, that's pretty cool. So, and that's exactly part of the reason why we do it, which is probably why Bigby was mentioning that, I imagine.
To encourage people to draw. He's actually thinking about drawing again because
and that's what we want everybody else to do too. Is pick up the old whatever you draw with. Could be digital, could be doesn't matter. Go ahead and draw that. It could be stick figures, could be the next Mona Lisa, and then share it with us so we can talk about it here on the show. This is the other semifinal round. We have Roscoe versus Norin Rad. Another
great pieces.
Close. Yes, I think this one may have been a bit closer, but I remember seeing a lot of Roscoe.
Yeah, there's a lot of Norin there too at the top.
There is, yeah, but I gotta kind of load all the comments first because otherwise I'm hearting all these live because I never intended to not heart any of them. Okay, so let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay, so, and 23, just shout out to Norin Rad because that's him right there voting for Roscoe, which is a classy move. So I said 23?
Yes, you said 23.
Okay, so Norin Rad. Just want to make sure I don't miss any Rad votes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6, yeah. So Roscoe takes it. Hey,
landslide on that one, but still
and
great
again,
Norin.
It's still great, and I mean, these guys both got to this point. I mean, Norin like swept one of, I think it was this round that Norin swept against the Scott Hasselwood Swamp Thing there. We celebrated all this art, and we will be showing off, by the way, all the art that we got over the last couple of weeks here from people. We have, I think, 5 or 6 new entries. And we're really happy to show those off because those people will be in. You'll see us, select the artwork we want to put in the finals and all that kind of stuff for 2025. Hopefully we won't wrap up 2025s in February, but we'll get there.
Drac says, I pulled no such classy move. I will vote for myself every time.
Hey, there you go. There you go. I respect that too. Like, I know what I like.
That's awesome.
Well, you might need it in this round, Dracula, because you guys both had a lot of support,
Roscoe,
a lot of love, but that's our final. So I'm going to do everything in my power to get that up as early as possible tomorrow for the post for the final.
And yes, Brad, that is a venomized Donald Duck.
Yes, yeah. And what I'll probably do is make like I might have Bigby help me out with this because he's really good with this stuff. I might do like a highlight post for each one, like a video or something where we can kind of highlight each one and have it be a reel on its own or something like that. And then have the vote for the final take place in a post or something like that too, just so we can kind of promote each finalist in their own full thing instead of just side by side. Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Comic trips. Not only you could hop on and plug something if you want, brother. That's totally fine. You've been through a lot recently too, man. So I 100% would love to plug anything you want to plug. Plug away, Meryl. Plug away. But yeah, that's our community artwork. Should we just share the community artwork now?
Sure, why not? That's a good segue.
We'll wait for Comic Tropes to come up with what he wanted to share here. And there's some really cool art pieces. Actually, it's more than 5 or 6, I think, here. So I have to share a different type of window. So give me 1 second here.
Do you want me to send a link to Chris in case he wants to hop on?
Yes, absolutely. If he wants to. Ooh, he did a backup for Radiant Black issue 32 in March. Would love if folks asked their shop to order one.
Oh, nice.
Dude, that is awesome.
Very
I'm
cool.
stoked. I'm really behind on that story, but just because of that, I'm actually going to get caught up on it. Read it digitally or something like that to get caught up on it, and then I'm going to go ahead and make sure I order a copy through the shop I order online through. That is fantastic news,
Awesome.
Chris.
Congrats, buddy.
I'm excited. So are you doing pencils, inks, and writing, or what parts are you doing? Hopefully we get an answer. I'm sure we will. That is awesome, man. Oh, and issue 31 is a fresh jump on point. So there you go. Definitely go support Chris. That's fantastic. I'm super stoked to hear about that, man. Man, that is really cool. You just made my night.
That is really cool.
Speaking of really cool, we got some really cool artwork to share here. And that includes this one, which is by this little known artist named Bigby McFly, the comic guy.
Who?
Did a really cool reel on this one, by the way.
Thanks.
Sharing the kind of the process there. I love it. Very Neil Adams-esque, kind of got a little bit of that going on, a little bit of its DNA, huh?
Busting the chains there, yeah.
Yeah. Love it, man. Very
Thanks.
nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Venomized Donald Duck is pretty cool. Absolutely. Okay, so he wrote it and drew it with Mark Englert colors and Becca Carey letters. That's awesome. I'm so excited for that. So yeah, great job, Bigby. Yeah, the props here are definitely well deserved.
Thank you. That was for a giveaway for a membership drive we did the other day on my channel. So,
oh, was it your latest membership giveaway?
No, it was just we did a little ancillary one.
Okay.
Mr. Akins and I did. He was giving away some books, and so we did that. So
for those that don't know, if you go become a member over on Bigby's channel, you get a chance to win some pretty cool stuff every month, and including, it sounds like some amazing art and amazing comic books and reading material and all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, the Usagi one. I thought I put the Usagi one in the bin before too.
I think
that was last month's giveaway.
Yeah, I think we shared that already.
Did we share that one already? Okay, yeah.
I'll double check. I can tell by which folder I have it in my computer.
There you go.
But that's really cool. I like that a lot, man.
No, thanks.
Who was the lucky winner? Do you mind sharing?
Trav won.
Oh, okay, nice. Makes shipping easy.
Yeah, it does. He's like, cool. I'm gonna ink it and color it. I was like, all right, cool.
Oh, sweet. Oh, that's really cool. Speaking of actual Dracula, we had him. His artwork in the finals here. I think I can make that a little bit more dominant on the screen there. A little Jonah Hex action from the Dracula.
Very cool.
Very cool. This actually kind of reminds me a little bit of his Ghost Rider he did. That's in here still.
I'm liking that.
Yeah. Very nice work, Dracula. Who said, by the way, he says, great piece, Bigby. And then Comic Tropes wants to know if Superman has super control of his body so he doesn't hurt folks with sneezes or farts. I mean, you're going right back to was it Mallrats where they talk about Superman climaxing?
Yeah. The Boys references that a lot.
Yeah. It's very good. Yeah, the gun's good. I really like the kind of the lighting in this, kind of creating that
like
almost
the texture of the leather jacket and versus the backgrounds and everything and the gloves.
That's very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's just enough perfect suggestion of a background here to kind of balance out the foreground too, with the gun kind of coming out of the frame. I love it.
Very cool.
Yeah. CJ Design comes in. This now is my favorite CJ Design post that he sent us.
That's a really cool one.
It's really cool. It's kind of got that, I don't want to overuse the term Rockwell, but it's got that like Americana kind of thing to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Beer. And it also makes me want a
root beer float, A&W for that.
Yeah. Hamburgers and root beer. That Oh, but I don't know if anybody remembers that old YouTube video from like the beginning of YouTube, but there you go.
Hamburgers and whoop beer.
Yeah, A&W stands for hamburgers and whoop beer.
Hamburgers, okay,
Yeah.
and whoop beer.
Yeah.
Got it.
This is Elliot Wright coming in hot with a piece here. You can see his IG there, LXST boy, so Lost Boy with an X as instead of an O, 52. Very cool. Is that supposed to be?
I think it's a character from his book.
Okay,
So
I wasn't sure if it was an original character, or if it's supposed to be a little.
Yeah, because he had just had issue 2 come out for his book that he made.
Right on.
And he just started a YouTube channel actually under the same
cool.
LXST boy. So if you look for him.
I'm gonna go sub him up.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
very well done. This is from Headless Hammerhead, doing a little summertime jubilee here.
Very cool.
Yeah, another one of his sketch covers. He likes to practice a lot, and he's shared a lot. I actually have another one coming up from him that he sent. So he sent me one on the hiatus, so we'll have more artwork from him next week for sure. Very good job, Headless, aka Giovanni out there.
Very nice.
And if you want, he does a lot of is pet portraits, and he does a fantastic job on pet portraits. Like if you want your dog drawn, he's done some really good likenesses on those. And so I think he is available for commissions for those still. Might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure he is.
Cool.
All right. So this one is freaking dope because I'm a big main man himself fan, Lobo. The Bastich himself. So this is Nerdy Musings, who I wasn't 100% familiar with. I don't feel like before you shared this with me, but man,
James
cool.
Foster. He's so he has a Nerdy Musings podcast on YouTube. I was fortunate enough to have him interview me a little while ago, and he's a local to our area guy.
Oh, cool.
Full-time martial arts instructor, and
right.
In another universe, he says he's a comic book artist. Nice. He said if things had diverged a little differently on the path, he would have been a comic artist.
I feel like somebody who's a comic book artist, martial arts instructor is a comic book character. Yeah, the red eyes, definitely awesome. Future cosplay, man. If I could pull off Lobo, that would be pretty cool. I'd be more like, I don't know, Bobo or something like that, but that'd be pretty sweet. I love that one. That's really well done. And this comes to us from Norin Rad. Another, we just talked about Norin Rad as well, doing an awesome Strife here. Love the work on the armor here.
Yeah,
he just nailed it. The armor is such a pain in the butt to draw on Strife, and he did a really good job.
Yeah,
did
a good job on the reflectivity.
Yep. Very cool. That helmet, man. That helmet is so 90s. Can't wait to talk about Rob Liefeld a little bit later in the show, actually.
Right.
But well done, Norin. That's good fantastic. Job. And another one of our finalists coming in hot. He did another dupe piece that we shared right around the beginning of our show, I think, or pretty close to it. And now we've got another pickle dupe.
Yeah, the other one, he was stuck in a pickle jar, right?
yeah, which is, I still love that one so much. Which roughly translates to what the oh, Roscoe every single time just cracks me up and cheers me up when I see his art. Good job, man. And then this was pretty cool too. SideQuest Comics sent this in to this one was into you, right, Bigby?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So I don't know if you want to share anything about the artist, because I don't know.
So last week he did that one that was more of the I forget the name of the style, the one where we had the you'd see the style in the barbershops and stuff all the time and everything, that old 80s stuff. This is more of a watercolor take, and I think this is kind of a self-portrait, but also it looks like a vampire, I think. So
yeah, I thought this was kind of maybe like, I didn't know if this was supposed to be like a character from, you know, kind of a Preacher universe kind of thing, maybe, or something. But
yeah, I don't know the origins of the character, but it's really well done.
Definitely got some fangs going. Dracula, are you gonna take this, brother? Or is this? I mean, I don't know if you can. I don't know. Is it like a Highlander kind of thing? There can be only one, or
more than one vampire.
He's actual Dracula, so I think he's pretty big on authenticity. No, this is very fantastic.
That's really well done, especially for watercolor.
Oh,
very
man.
hard to get that level of detail in watercolor.
The detail in the face and the clothing, and that's impressive, man. Yeah, every single submission, very cool. And these are some really, like, frankly, some of these are really good technical pieces. Don't let that turn you off, though. If you're kind of more on the, you know, different side of the skill tree or whatever, that's totally fine. We still want to see your artwork. Don't want anybody to think this is all about the competition part to it. This is literally about getting everybody into drawing more and getting everybody into doing stuff. Like I'm working on an Emma Frost piece right now. It's been very slow going because I haven't had much time to draw, but it's really good, so I'll give it a pass. It's a guy that just loves his hat. But yeah, I mean, like Comic Trips is saying here, just some really, really good ones.
Yeah, you know, but yeah, like you're saying, we just want to really encourage people to draw, to paint or sculpt or whatever it is you want to do, but create.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, even if you got photography that you want to share, you know, whatever, we're down for that.
Right.
You know, it's all about the creative outlet, especially, you know, if you want to do a backup story in Radiant Black and share that as a submission.
There you go.
That is so cool.
I just watched the Mike Mignola autobiography.
Yes,
on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that's on my list now.
Man, I mean, it's pretty good, and he's talking about, man, when I started, I sucked.
He's somebody that I feel like you can definitely see some evolution in his artwork.
Oh, totally. Especially during the autobiography. It's amazing just watching it progress from where he started to where he ends up being.
Yeah. Yeah. He's great. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that we talked about some of our favorite artists a while ago with Chris from Comic Trips. I believe that was one of his choices. He definitely came up during that segment. I can't remember if it was somebody he actually
I think his first published work, he did not do a very good job. And they gave him another job to do, and they said, if you turn another piece like your last one, and they just didn't finish the sentence.
You'll get a free membership for life to the Jelly of the Month Club, which is the gift that keeps on giving. Hey, shout out to Rad Art and Comics. So I'm sorry,
there he is.
I need to get caught up with chat. You may have posted something earlier. If you did, I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
I think that was just him surfing in there.
Yeah, but we were just showing off some of your artwork and talking about you, and
for sure,
great job, man.
Showing off a bunch of artwork.
Yeah, I love it when the artists pop in when we're talking about their stuff. They're pretty close to it, so they can scroll back and find it. Okay. Speaking of cool things, I do want to talk real fast before we move on to our news segments and everything we have to talk about. Or a conversational segment, actually probably be the first thing. But we do have a show coming up. You know, I mentioned we're streaming over on the EXP network. Tomorrow, you can go catch an awesome show from them that you heard us talk about before on here, or maybe you haven't, if this is your first time hearing it. They have a great show talking about new comic book day books coming out, kind of doing quick reviews on those. It's called Minute to Skim It. Highly recommend checking out that show. Again, the EXP, the link is in the description if you want to go give them a sub and hit the bell and all that fun stuff. But you do have our producer on this show is actually part of that trio that does reviews. You can go check out his opinions on some of the comic books coming out. Minute to Skim It will be on the EXP Live. That's tomorrow at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. So definitely go check out Minute to Skim It on the EXP. So I want to make sure I didn't miss anything else in chat before we do move on. Man, I think I actually did a pretty good job of catching everybody. I didn't highlight everybody. I know Preston talked about Vampire Tan Lines. He's talking about CJ Design, saying that his art there could have been an American Graffiti movie poster. Yeah. I totally agree with that.
This is very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Definitely. And then John backed that up too.
So did we say if you want to submit art?
Yes, should be my segue out of that. Thank you very much for the save there, Bigby. Do you want to take it away?
If you guys want to submit art to be shown on the show, send an Instagram message to either myself or to Bronze, and we'll make sure that we get you on an upcoming show. And we try to post one piece from each person each week, so you can send multiple pieces at a time if you want, but we'll only show one each week.
Yeah,
because
it's definitely easier if you share one a week, because then we don't get mixed up.
Right.
I don't get mixed up. But yeah, absolutely. We love to see it. No matter what level you're at, definitely do that. And then we will be more than happy to talk about that on a future show. So convention appearances coming up. I will be at, it's not a convention per se, although in the strictest sense of the word, it is. There's something called Frankenstein Comic Swap. It takes place in Portland, Oregon at the Lloyd Center Mall. I will be there vending along with a couple of friends, awesome people, QWERTY Comics and Dan's X-Men Comics. So far, people we're sharing a couple tables. We're going to spread out all of our stuff across that. So even though we're all just collectors who are just kind of selling some of our extra stuff, the three of us together, they have a lot of great like Bronze Age and Silver X-Men and the Claremont era stuff. But they also have a lot of other comic books too. They're highly fun and desirable. We're going to be there vending. It's my first time vending at a show. So I'm going to kind of document parts of that as well in that process and getting set up for it and all that for people that might care about that, which I imagine is a few people, probably literally a few people. And then, so technically we'll be doing that. If you call that a con, I kind of do.
Oh yeah, it's a con.
Yeah. And I know like we had like Dr. Plagueis travel in from Central Washington, and he thought it was an awesome show. I think he's probably
never going to miss another one.
Yeah. So if you are going to be coming to that, or if you're interested in checking it out, actually Bigby's channel has some previous footage from some
two different shows I have videos of. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can go check out like, what some of the shows like. He interviews some of the vendors, kind of does, some kind of.
It is a comic show in the strictest sense of a comic show. It is just pretty well. I mean, there's people there selling art and other things, but it's like 2% of the overall show is people doing that. And it's great deals to be had.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of people are kind of just clearing out, a lot of 50-cent dollar books kind of stuff. And I mean, obviously there's lots of great, there was an X-Men one there last time somebody had, which, it's a great book. Obviously, people had keys and big books on the walls and there was some Dave Stevens limited sign print that somebody had from San Diego Comic-Con a few years ago. There's some cool stuff.
Yeah, there's a wide variety of vendors. Like there's some bigger vendors, and then there's just like Joe Schmo selling his extra books from his garage. So
yeah, only two or three actual Frankensteins, and then like 7 or 8 or 9 Frankenstein's monsters running around. It's kind of weird.
They do have a lot of Frankenstein art for promoting the show and stuff. Definitely. And stand-up
run by a couple comic shop owners from the Portland area that are very selfless and make it all about the show, and they make it cheap for the vendors, cheap for the people to get in. I think it's a few bucks at most to get in. I can never remember. It's like $1.
It's $5 if you want to get in an hour early, and then it's $1 to get in after that.
And that's it. And you get it stamped, so it's an all-day pass kind of thing. It is like the third. Oh man, I can't remember the exact
right
date.
There by St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, it's the Saturday before St. Patrick's Day, I believe. And it is at the Lloyd Center Mall in Portland, Oregon. I'm gonna look up the exact date because it's just on their Facebook page. I just gotta wait for the page to load here. The next one is Saturday, March 15th at 11 a.m. It's at Lloyd Center, which is a giant mall in Portland, downtown Portland. So I am going. Brian is interested in going.
I will be there. But I will be hunting books.
And for those that are on Facebook, if you are on Facebook or can at least see the page, there's the group. So it's a great group to follow if you want to, keep up on the current goings-ons. It's a really cool event. We've talked about it a lot.
It's super fun. And a great place to run into a lot of YouTubers from the local area. If you want to chat them up.
Yep. I got recognized more at that show than any show I've ever been to. It was kind of bizarre at one point this last time. People were just like coming up. I was talking about Transformers. I think I told the story. I was talking about Transformers Bumblebee Hot Wheels thing with somebody, which I did find. It's over there. And people were coming up and saying like, "Are you Bronze Age nerd?" And the guy I was talking to was like, "Who the hell is this guy?"
That's the Portland Comic Con where we had was me and you and Chris and was it Dave, West Coast Avengers?
Yeah.
And the one guy looked up from his artwork and he was like, "Hey, I know you and you and you and you."
Chris does bring up a great point. It's you kind of throw a dart and you're going to hit one of us around here.
Right. There are a lot of us kooky folks.
Hey, what's up, Kamikaze? Welcome to the show.
Hey.
But yeah, so to continue answering Chris's question, which by the way, thank you very much for the super chat that you included with that. There will be that show. I'm definitely going to Washington State SummerCon. So far, they announced William Shatner is going to be there as their big celebrity Star Trek guest, and they announced a big comic guest too. And who was it? It's like they've had a few announcements.
Last year's lineup was amazing.
Kevin Eastman. Kevin Eastman's the big comic book guest they've announced so far. Also, Keith David, Heather Locklear, Dan Bluth, animation legend. Yeah, there's going to be, and that's just, they kind of trickle out the announcements. Thomas Lennon, who's the main cop from Reno 911, is going to be there. They do a pretty good mix of celebrity and comic guests, and they kind of, so maybe to a fault, they kept them separated last year.
I thought it was really interesting how they segregated everything. It was like the comic area was the comic area, the celebrity area was the celebrity area, the anime area was the anime area. So
when we were talking to Jamie Tyndall at the end of the show, literally as we were walking out, and he brought up a good point, which was that the year before, which is what I remember because I've been there a couple times, they had all the comic guests were like, they had all their celebrities, and then basically right next to that in like another couple of alleys or whatever you want to call it, they had all the comic guests. And he said that was great because the people waiting for the celebrity guests would filter through the comic guests, and he thought that kind of boosted business for the comic vendors as well.
So he's kind of vendors, not the comic celebrities, but the vendors were there.
Yes.
That would have been better. And I think maybe if they did intersperse it a little more, it might have been better to get because who knows, you're there with your significant other, maybe they're into manga and anime and you're into comics, and so they could be at one booth real close by and you're at another, but instead they're all the way over in a whole nother pavilion and you're over here.
Yeah. I mean, that was the weird part is Bigby, this was his first year going, and they kind of had the comic building, which the year before I think was the sci-fi building or something like that. It was like all the sci-fi writers and sci-fi related vendors and that kind of stuff. And I think the prop people too, I want to say. This year it was a little more mixed up, but most of the comic vendors were in that side building. And so I think people didn't find them as much unless that's where they were seeking them out. Right. So probably a bit of a mixed bag for vendors there, because
I wonder there were a few comic vendors in the main hall, and I wonder how they did versus the other hall. But all the comic artists and stuff were in the comic building. So like Frank Cho and all of those other Jim Starlin, all those other guys were in the other building.
Durgans, all those people,
So,
Jim Shooter.
I don't know.
All the names are coming back to me. But yeah, I'll go to that. I'll go to Rose City for sure. Those are the two that I go to every year at this point. I don't know if it's this year, but I really want to go to an Emerald City Comic Con. I'm probably gonna have to kind of see the lineup and be like, oh, okay, there's somebody there like I can't miss, that kind of thing.
Right.
So that's something that I really want to do. Actually, Chris just asked. So I'll definitely go to RCCC. Emerald City, I really want to go, but it's really hard for me because I've heard such mixed things from people, and the con experience itself, like just going to a con, isn't something that I don't actually enjoy that part of it. Like that's not my favorite part, right? I don't like going and trying to find parking and, being in lines and getting in large crowds. Like, I enjoy seeing people, meeting people, interacting with creators, running into people, and so that would definitely happen there. So I'm probably likely to do that, but I feel like I've been okay missing it these years. But there's a lot of Seattle people that I know will be there, like this guy right here, that I would go. That would partially be the reason why I would go. So,
right. I might be going to Heroes Con too, but
yeah,
that's financially it might be a bit of a stretch. So we'll see.
Oh, it's the same weekend as Washington State SummerCon.
Oh no!
Oof. Well, there we go. That might make financial decisions easier, but if you got to go to Heroes Con, I understand, man. I know that's a big show.
Well, it might make, yeah. We'll see.
I definitely understand. Awesome Sauce wants to know, is SummerCon worth traveling to from New York? It's William Shatner. He's like 92-ish. I imagine Shatner would make an appearance around New York sometime soon. He's pretty active on the con circuit. Maybe he's slowed down.
Yeah.
Is it worth traveling across the country for? I don't really want to say yes, because that puts a lot of pressure on it for it to be good. And I've heard, out of the 3 years that I've heard it's been really amazing, which is kind of the last 3 years, 2 out of those 3 have been like the 2 of the best shows I've ever been to. One of them was kind of like, it was great for me personally, but a lot of people were like, like it's hard to say. So I don't want to give anybody the impression that they have to go across the country to see it. Yeah, like Chris says, probably not worth going across the country, but it's great for locals. I think if you're in the Pacific Northwest, as far as Idaho, or if you want to stretch it to Montana or British Columbia, it's probably worth going to, as long as you don't mind a little bit of a travel or a drive. Maybe even some Californians, like NoCal, that kind of stuff. I could see that. That's kind of,
yeah, but I'm sure you'd love to see Awesome Sauce out there. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, if he makes it out for anything. I mean, the other thing too is, at some point I got to try to get to San Diego, or I'm going to try to go to a New York Comic-Con, but I'm a ways away from doing that. But okay, March 8th for Emerald. Man, that's coming up faster than I thought.
Wow.
So I'm going to have to make that decision soon. Oh, Brian Polito's going to be there. That's cool. I respect the hell out of that guy. Yes, absolutely. Having sex with the celebs of the past, like Lou Ferrigno, William Shatner, yep, Heather Locklear, all the great ones. Gosh, that's crazy, because we went to Washington State SummerCon and Shannon Doherty was going to be there, and then she passed away like right after that. I know she.
Right, it was just part of that whole thing we were just saying, where like we were just so happy that we got to meet Shooter. Like, I mean, he's still around, but it was,
yeah. Well, and then he canceled some appearances too.
Yeah, he canceled a bunch of appearances right after that.
So, yeah, loved catching up with the chat. Loved talking about those topics. Always bringing forward, folks. I did want to talk to you just kind of casually for a second. Engage casual mode. So it was Super Bowl weekend, right? Like, did you watch the game and check it all out, or were you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm part of a chat group, and everybody was talking so much smack and everything, and trying to lay bets. And I was listening to a lot of the pregame, and they were like talking about how great the Eagles' defense was and how pretty dominant their offense was. And I'm like, what the heck? I'll throw a bet out there, and I ended up winning a bet, so I was okay.
You won some X-Men books, right?
Yeah, I won a handful of X-Men books from one of our. They were all wanting to lay money, and I go, I threw out. I'm like, I'll lay $100 worth of back issues against $100 worth of your back issues. We'll settle up afterwards, or whatever, whatever things we can figure out. And the one guy goes, no, I've got some stuff up on Instagram right now. You can have these X-Men books versus, and if I win, then I get to pick like $35 worth of your X-Men or your books. And I was like, okay. And then I won. So nice. I think only one of them is like a burn issue, but it's okay.
Okay. Well, still, I mean, that's pretty awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, I watched the game as a Broncos fan. It was just basically like anybody but the Chiefs win, so I got what I wanted, I guess. I'm not trying to make it about anybody feeling bad about their team losing, because I've, as a Broncos fan, definitely been there before. So definitely understand that. But yeah, hey, it's almost an American holiday at this point.
Right.
I think it's safe to say, actually. And so I watched it. I was going to go to a Super Bowl party. Unfortunately, my daughter has an ear infection, and I instead of doing childcare with her, I decided to stay home and just kind of watch it with her. And so she was luckily feeling good enough that she was cool to watch it, and she likes seeing the spectacle and the celebrities and the halftime show and the ads and all that stuff, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about. So commercials, lots of cool commercials, lots of fun stuff. We talked about the Hellman's mayonnaise / Best Foods Sydney Sweeney Fest. Did you have like a favorite, like just all things aside from comic books or nerd stuff? Did you have a favorite commercial?
I used to be really into the commercials. The only one I can remember is the Budweiser Clydesdale one. That's the only one I can even remember, other than the mayonnaise one. And then of course the trailers for the movies. But
yeah. Hey, what's up, Tat Comics? How's it going? We're just talking about reaction to the spectacle that is the Super Bowl, kind of as a loose segue into the comic book related stuff that came out of it. But yeah, there was some.
How about
some
you?
cool
Do you have a favorite?
As a dad with a 6-year-old kid, like the things that make my daughter laugh or what I remember. So she loved. There's a Doritos commercial where like aliens are trying to steal the Doritos with a tractor beam.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good.
It just goes smacking the guy around. She just started laughing her butt off at that. So that I thought that was funny because of her kind of living through her there.
He's like putting both legs on the side of the window. And finally, he lets the bag go, and it just splits the ship in half.
Yeah. I mean, there was the Seal Baja Blast commercial, which was silly.
That was goofy.
The ones that bothered me were the ones with like tons of celebrities, which usually are the ones that bother me, where it's like, all right, like I kind of liked the one though that was kind of a celebrity fest with Nick Offerman and oh my gosh, the basketball player that has prominent facial hair. Oh boy, I forgot his name.
Where the mustaches were going on.
Yeah, like the Pringles commercial where they're all flying off. There was another commercial too for like a Instacart or something like that, where they had like all the brand mascots like delivering food. So it was like at the end they forgot the milk and the cow.
The Instacart. It was an Instacart ad. Yeah,
that was pretty funny. So there's a few funny ones, but most of them I feel like they haven't been as good since the 90s, which starting to sound like an old guy or whatever, but that's like the era of like the Budweiser frogs and just like just all the different things, right? Like all the crazy spectacle commercials.
Was that right?
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah, right. But yeah, I enjoyed the trailers. Were definitely my favorite part. The Mission Impossible trailer, I'm kind of done with that series, but at the same time, it's the last movie theoretically, or at least they're advertising. James Harden. Oh my God!
Yeah,
thank you so much. If I count myself, only one. Yeah, that was a pretty good one. A couple
Park. That one looked okay.
I didn't even see that one because I don't know if I saw the trailer that came out a couple days ago. Was there a different one for this?
I think it was maybe the same one, maybe a little more footage to it, but it looked pretty good.
Every time they make one of these Jurassic Park movies, I'm one of the few people that actually has enjoyed, like I enjoyed Jurassic World quite a bit. The first reboot style, not reboot really, but soft reboot movie. I really liked that one. People had a lot of problems with it. I thought it was cool. I liked Bryce Dallas Howard. I liked Star-Lord as his 15th, major movie role in that one. Chris Pratt. But the last couple weren't as good. I'm in for this one. I thought it was really cool. I read an interview with Scarlett Johansson where she was talking about sleeping in a Jurassic Park tent when she was a kid. And now she's like been begging to be in Jurassic. She's like told her agent, if anything comes up for Jurassic Park, you pick up the phone and you talk to them. Like, which I think is pretty fun. Like she's almost exactly my age, I think. So I think we're just kind of a similar generation, and I've always enjoyed her as an actress. I think it's cool to see her kind of get in there. I really hope this is a good movie. it seemed very light on the dinosaur spectacle in the trailer. Like it was more about we're going in to collect the samples and it's serious business. And I hope that my hope is that there's a little bit more of like those are the people that get wowed the most because they're not going to be, oh wow, they don't have the 2 or 3 dinosaur experts that are going to be all into dinosaurs and cannon fodder for the rest of the people.
Right.
I hope it turns out to be good, but I'm a big fan of like a Mosasaurus, so that scene at the end was pretty cool in that trailer. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there was some pretty cool looking scenes, and like they're
Rancor.
back at the old HQ where they were doing the eggs and all the testing and stuff, and it looked pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't think this is Isla
Nublar.
I think this is Isla Sorna, I think. So this would have been like the Lost World movie island, if I'm right about that. But I was going to say the genetic. They've been talking about doing genetic engineered dinosaurs ever since the sequel. I think it was Jurassic Park 3 was going to have like mutated Velociraptor soldiers. There's like a big deleted sequence from that's kind of gone viral over the years, or people have talked about it at least. And it looks like they're doing some of that. I mean, they did some of that with the Indoraptor and splicing in different genetic strains into different, camouflages and all that kind of stuff. But this one, I mean, there's like some Rancor looking creature thing that's in there that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, somebody just said looked like a Rancor.
Yeah,
Jay said if it's good July, it's going to break the bank. That's true.
Yeah.
Isla Sizzla.
Yeah, the human dino hybrid. I think that's kind of what I'm talking about. Isla's pretty good. Xenomorph Rancor Rex. Xenomorph, yeah, there you go. That's funny because I just watched Alien Romulus for the first time.
What'd you think?
I think I need to see it again.
Yeah.
I really liked I can't remember his name now. I really liked the android.
Yeah, the guy who played the android did a really good job.
I thought that was really cool. It felt enough of a classic take on aliens that I appreciated that part of it, like the alien part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm somebody who enjoys Aliens the most out of the original series there, so I always wish for more of that. The ending, it's kind of funny because if different parts of it paid homage, I feel like, to different parts of the Alien franchise. Like,
right,
there was some Prometheus in there. There was some Alien 3 in there with the weird, Alien Resurrection in there with the weird thing at the end. If you haven't seen it yet, I won't spoil it. I know it's kind of an older movie at this point, but there's a different type of alien at the end that's kind of similar to what you see in Resurrections. There was a little bit of Alien 1 in there, a little bit of Aliens in Alien 2, Alien 3. I liked it. I think it was good, but I don't know. It was weird. Part of it, so I just got a brand new TV, and part of it was watching it on the brand new TV, and like it was the first movie we watched, so a lot of it was just like, whoa, more than I couldn't tell which parts of that were brand new tech on a nice TV screen and which parts of it were the movie, if that makes sense. That's why I feel like I need to watch it again to give it a fair shot now that I've watched some other stuff.
Yeah, I like to, like, when I'm watching those movies too, like even probably like the new Jurassic Park, like think of it from what's this like to some young person who never saw the original stuff. So like that Alien, I thought that was a good jumping on point for people for Alien.
Totally.
The Romulus. So
yeah, it probably could have leaned a little more heavily into being a fresh start for people, but I feel like they thought they had to cater to older audiences of Alien.
Well, I think it was a good balance between.
Yeah, I agree.
A little fan service and a little,
Yeah, definitely. Robots can now sprout mini helicopters out of their heads.
Chad does not like our commentary on the aliens.
Oh yeah, well, but I'm with Chad here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to point out, you never expected the Inspector Gadget crossover, but I'm never going to be disappointed when I see it. Aliens is my it's my favorite James Cameron movie. who's one of my favorite directors. So just to give you an idea, that puts it really high up there for me. And Alien is something I've grown to appreciate even more as an adult. Like I'm talking about the original Ridley Scott film.
Right.
I'll tell you, if you have access, and this was even before I got the new TV, I'm not just talking about that. If you have access to real 4K Blu-ray discs through, you know, an Xbox or a PlayStation 5 or a standalone player or whatever, watch the original Ridley Scott Alien, the 4K pressing release of that. It is phenomenal. It really gave me a new appreciation for that film, for the cinematography and everything, which I think just because I'd seen it so many times as a kid, I sort of mentally just sort of like wrote over like how good it looks, but watching it through some fresh eyes, it was amazing.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah.
Conversely, the re-release of Aliens is a freaking AI smoothed out nightmare. Literally, they used AI technology to like smooth out all the faces and edges and get rid of all the film grain instead of doing it digitally, you know, kind of by hand, if you will.
Really?
And it looks just like a video game cutscene smear, kind of. It's really weird.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, it's interesting. No, Chris got Jay's attention back there talking about Piranha 2.
Piranha 2.
You like it more than Piranha 2? Yeah, didn't he do was that Double D? Is that the right one that I'm thinking of?
The 3D one?
Yeah. Well, there's 3D and then there's 3 Double D, I think. Am I making that up? I'm pretty sure there is. We all know the best is Aliens versus Predator Requiem. Say whatever you want about that movie. The scene where the Predator is in the sewers and is throwing up like the mines to trap the aliens is freaking badass. Just for that scene alone, like seeing compared to AVP, the original AVP film that takes place in Antarctica, the Predator was at least like a competent xenomorph hunter in that film. Not a great movie though. Very, very, very dark movie, literally.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to talk about like certain movies that are only rescued by little snippet scenes. You know, like you're like, oh, that bought it some grace.
Yeah, and Alien 3 is an interesting movie to talk about too. Awesome Sauce. If you like to talk about David Fincher and how much the studio interfered with that movie, there's a lot of great videos on YouTube that talk about the original script.
Didn't he say he wanted to take his name off of that?
Yes, he wants nothing to do with that film.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of terrible AI remasters, there's a lot of controversy about a couple David Fincher movies that have come out on 4K, like Panic Room is one of them, kind of having similar problems. It's all connected, man. Speaking of all being connected, before we move on to our next kind of news segment, which I promise will be a little bit more news-worthy than some of our Super Bowl musings, we do want to talk about another show coming up on the EXP. Again, we are streaming over on the EXP. Link is in the description below if you want to go sub them up, as well as for Bigby McFly or myself if you want to go sub us up. You can check out Wonderland Comics, which is an awesome claim sale show on the EXP if you want to claim some awesome new comic books that are coming out. That airs at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, 7 Pacific if you want to go check out Wonderland Comics on the EXP. We have to get to some of the Super Bowl like comic book stuff. And I think the most important one to get to, it's got to be Thunderbolts, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
How do you say an asterisk in real life? Because they keep doing the asterisk thing on the title. And
Thunderbolts, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like they're going to put something like New Avengers or something underneath it, or Dark Avengers or something.
I'm laughing because I screwed that up. I screwed up that ad we were doing for Wonderland Comics, which is the same thing I did last time. That's actually at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. I was giving you the times for a different show that we're going to talk about later on. But if you want to watch Wonderland Comics, 8 Eastern, 7 Central.
Just watch them all.
Comics.
That's okay.
Yeah, well, I mean,
just tune in
here's the deal. I can solve all this for you. Go sub up the XP, ring the bell, and you'll be notified when they go live for all of these streams.
There you go.
Yeah, the look, the Thunderbolts thing. I do not know how to feel about that movie. Like that I like. There's the trailer that had the extended sequence where you see them in the Red Guardians Guardian Mobile or whatever the hell they're gonna call it.
Right.
And like they're getting chased, and then Bucky comes. That trailer that had like that kind of extended look at that I thought that was a cool scene that they're showing us. This trailer had some cool editing or moments in it, I'll say. I will say, like, I showed my wife because she had to work during the Super Bowl. So she comes home and she's like, wanted to see what kind of cool stuff happened. I showed her the Thunderbolts trailer and she's like, who's the villain? And, shrewd comic book fans or people that read the comic books, I think, can easily figure out what's going on. But it's a good point. For the masses that they want to get butts in seats in theaters for, you got to like the villain looks like a shadow for the most, or like some kind of, I don't know, maybe some kind of dimensional takeover or something. If you're not familiar with what's going on,
Right.
What do you think about that?
I was actually kind of disappointed that they gave that part away, but that's just me. I was like, okay, the other trailers have been great and getting me hyped up, but that like gave away a lot what they showed. So
yeah.
But it looks great. But yeah, like you're saying, it might be confusing to a lot of like non-comics people. Lex Luthor. Yes.
I love that.
The bowl haircut. That's the villain.
Chris says he thinks that the trailer made him realize why they grabbed so many of the characters. It's probably all about super soldier serums. And it's clear that, with the exception of Cap, obviously, and what is his name? I'm blanking on his name. The original guy who was Patriot's dad.
His grandfather.
Yeah. Or his grandfather. Yeah. Shoot,
the guy from Truth. I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, I'm blanking on it right now. But they introduced him, obviously. I'm trying to think. I think pretty much every other super soldier. Thank you so much, Chris. Isaiah Bradley. They show pretty much every other character we know that has been affected, because we know the Widows kind of have their super soldier thing going on. You got Red Guardian, obviously. You got John Walker. You've got Bucky, obviously. Red Guardian. So the leaders, the villain category.
Bad guys, but they all die in Falcon and Winter Soldier. All the bad guys.
I feel like
got it.
I don't know if all of them died, but I think maybe they were captured at the end too. If they didn't die, it's been a while since I've watched that. They were definitely defeated. I remember that. I don't think it was like a thing where like 50 of them ran off into nowhere. So yeah, it's just one of those things where like but I'm looking at the two big Marvel movies coming out, and we have it's interesting. They both come from the Captain America tree, Yeah, exactly. Because we got Red Hulk getting introduced. We have Giancarlo Esposito being introduced in this as well. But primarily it's a Sam Wilson movie. And then we have this film, and it's out of the two, I want to see Cap, but I have a feeling it's going to be exactly what I expect.
Right.
No surprises. And
I hope I'm wrong. We're trying not to spoil it for anybody who doesn't want it spoiled.
Yes, that's exactly what's going on. So it's one of those things where I feel like that, I'm not going to be surprised much. I feel like Thunderbolts is going to surprise me. And that's coming from somebody who all along, and this isn't the bad guy thing. I think it's the Dark Avengers. I think that's the real title that's going to come up at some point in the film or whatever. Right. That's just me. And I think that's why it's an asterisk. But, or it could be a lot of things. It could be frickin' the Expendables or Marvel's Suicide Squad. Who knows, right? We all know the real villain is Taylor Swift. No, I'm just kidding. I like Taylor Swift. I will unabashedly say there's some Taylor Swift songs I can get down with. But I will say I don't need to see much of her at a football game. One shot, great. More shots of Anne Hathaway dancing would be fine with me as well. Yeah. So we're kind of staying away from the spoiler part, but it's not, it's one of those things where I don't think it's even necessarily going to be a huge spoiler, because my guess is there's more going on in that film.
Right. I think the villain is Constantina is going to be the real villain is going to be the Constantina behind everything. But
yeah, exactly. And that's where I get the Dark Avengers kind of vibes from.
Right.
Is I don't think we can do it the same because we don't have Osborn, and we don't have it done in the same kind of way. But and I know they're kind of doing the super soldiery type thing, but I have a feeling this is going to be kind of a lead in to Dark Avengers being set up as kind of the next thing, which gives the Avengers something to kind of fight against if we have a new Avengers team. But there's a Japanese poster that has a different reason for the asterisk. It says the Avengers aren't available.
Okay.
Yeah, man, that would be funny if that's all it is. I think it could just be that Red Guardian keeps wanting to call it the Thunderbolts, and really they have some different name.
We are not calling it that.
but I mean, so picking the name Thunderbolts, that's kind of, let's talk about it that way for a second. You pick the name Thunderbolts for this team that has essentially nothing in common with the Thunderbolts of the comics, more or less. Right. And I really think the only reason to do that is because it's kind of like, remember the twist from Thunderbolts is obviously at the end of issue 1, you find out they're all villains. And I think that's kind of the only way you can do this is like they think they're heroes, but really they're kind of doing, work for the devil essentially, in the Contessa. But yeah, if it comes down that he's the one ordering them, and then they call themselves the Thunderbolts for that reason, it would make more sense. Kind of, a little bit of a payback there. Speaking of terrible Super Bowl commercials, how about that Jeep commercial?
The what commercial?
The Jeep commercial with Harrison Ford. He's like, I like Jeeps, and my name's Ford, and he like mouths Ford.
Right.
Hey, what's up, McClay? How's it going?
Hey.
Nice to see you, brother. I could see Val putting together Dark Avengers at the end, or yeah, exactly. See, getting Zemo in there, because to me, that's the thing that makes sense. Is you kind of have him swoop in at the end and take over the team, and kind of, he's got to be in it somehow. Like it's just weird to call it the Thunderbolts otherwise. To me, like,
right?
There's so many.
Wouldn't that be something if they're keeping all of, you've got Thunderbolt Ross in there as the Hulk. They're just keeping it out of all the trailers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's possible. It's possible. I think there's a ton they're not showing us with that main character that, again, for those that are just joining us, we're kind of trying to be respectful of people that don't understand the kind of obvious twist that's coming with one of the characters in the show. But yeah, it feels weird, even though I'm still excited about it more than I am for Cap 3. I don't know. I guess that's the best way. Or Cap 4. Yeah. Because there's what first.
That's this weekend, right? Cap 4.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's you're right, McClay. That's the thing I was thinking of. That's why I said it's mostly not comic book related, but he is there. Because it's Hawkeye that takes over after Zemo originally, right. And yeah, which, dude, that'd be cool. Give Hawkeye something to do other than telling the Matt Fraction and David Aja stories. Six puncher heroes versus a Superman level enemy. I mean, they literally say as much in the trailer.
The thing I didn't see a lot of in the trailer, I didn't see a lot of Ghost, and I didn't see a lot of Taskmaster.
Yeah,
much at all in the trailer.
Ton of speculation that they die super early.
Just a little bit of them, you know.
Yeah, and it would make sense that they die super early too, to be honest. Also, two of the bigger obvious villains, besides I guess you could say John Walker. I guess Red Guardian sort of is viewed as a villain, even though it's hard to think of him as that. I don't know. Yeah, Chad brings up a good point. What if it was Venomized Donald Duck? Now we're talking. Now we're talking.
But overall, I thought it looked good. I would say I was a little disappointed that they gave away that twist. Is all.
It's because they clearly avoided it in the other trailers,
right?
In this one, I think they mostly avoided it.
I would have hoped that they would have like stretched that out like to something later to find out about him, you know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's weird. You know, you talk about Cap coming out, and I think I'm gonna wait a while to watch Cap, probably.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna wait a while to watch Thunderbolts because I'm curious. Because
it looks fun.
I like some of those characters a lot. I think they've been fun in the MCU. I'm kind of curious to see them playing off each other. So and I freaking love the original Thunderbolts run is one of my favorite runs ever, oddly enough.
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
I do kind of wish seeing this, I wish Stephen Yeun was still part of it.
Yeah.
He originally was signed up to play Sentry in this movie, and it would be cool to see him.
Have you been watching the new Invincible?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Dude, it's good. It's good. Every time Invincible comes back, I always worry that it's going to be a little like it's going to come back not as strong or something.
It's been good.
Oh, dude, it comes back so hard.
Right.
I love it. Yeah, that's actually, I think that's quickly become like my favorite superhero show of any kind, right? Like, how long will I wait to see Fantastic Four? A year or two? No, Fantastic Four will be probably my first opening weekend movie in a long time.
So you're planning on seeing Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four opening weekend?
Oh, Thunderbolts. I mean, I'm gonna see it soon. Like opening week is probably more like I'll wait for the initial crowd to die down, and then I'll go see it like on a weekday or something. Probably. Fantastic Four. I want to see it like IMAX opening weekend. Probably.
There you
go. Is the whole season up? I thought it was just the first few episodes.
Whatever episodes. Did they drop the rest of the season?
I don't. That's a good question. I'm curious if chat knows. I've only seen the first 3. There is a cool thing bucket.
Is it going to be like his fist?
There's one for each of them. I think maybe that was a joke that I saw, but if it was a joke, I liked it. Let's see if I can find the news story for that. Kind of show it. Oh, I guess I shouldn't abbreviate FF.
Mm-hmm. I thought that somebody had said there was going to be a new FF trailer for the Super Bowl, and I didn't see anything new.
I just saw the original one. Oh, these are. Oh no. Okay, there's a real one. There is a real one.
Space Pot Pete's gun.
God, why can't I find just an easy picture? Expand this tweet.
There's just gonna be like a molded, like stretched out hands from Mr. Hands.
Well, there is one that's like that. I thought there was one that was the Thing's hat, though. Okay. Here, I found it on Threads. I'll go to that.
Captain America popcorn. Covered in white fudge and red, white, and blue pop rocks. Are you serious, Chris? That's crazy.
No, I don't want to get a TikTok. Okay.
Oh, it is real. Okay. That is the real AMC Captain America popcorn.
Here we go. Found it. I don't know why this took me so long to. I did the first couple sites kind of look like a joke, but here's kind of all.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, that was kind of fun, But I really thought that one was neat.
The Thing one or the which one?
Sorry, you can't see my mouse. I thought you could see my mouse cursor. The Thing holding the bowler hat.
Yeah, no, that one is pretty cool.
I
think that's probably my favorite out of all of them.
The Invisible Woman one's pretty weak. Just because I guess, it is partially transparent. It kind of looks like an explosion with the popcorn in there, but
yeah.
Let's see if I can't really. Okay. Yeah, it's
those are cool.
It's cool. I really, the stretchy and the Rocky are my two favorites.
The Human Torch one is kind of weird, but okay.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
Just don't scream fire in a crowded theater.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah, FF is I have a lot of hope for FF.
So now I want popcorn.
Let's hit a couple news stories real fast they're not going to take long to talk about. They're kind of just more announcements.
No, this one was good.
I think this is cool. It's potentially cool. Somebody pointed out something about this that is interesting. Buffy the Vampire Slayer sequel series with Sarah Michelle Gellar returning, coming soon with a Hulu pilot order. This is interesting. So I know Sarah Michelle Gellar has been willing to listen to people that have pitches for shows.
Mm-hmm.
For reboots or for continuing the property, but she's been pretty resistant. Like, she only wants to come back if it's good, right? Which is great.
Right.
I love that. There's been a lot of I know Bill Murray was resistant to appearing in a Ghostbusters sequel for a long time because he felt like the script wasn't there. For example, I have a lot of respect for actors that are like, let's not just quickly rush to make a sequel and cash grab and all that stuff, right?
Right.
So the one thing that somebody pointed out, the reason I was kind of saying I have one hesitancy on this, somebody pointed out that none of the original creators are involved, which, look, Joss Whedon, it's pretty clear why he wouldn't be involved, and that's kind of what it is. But there's a lot of other creatives that were involved in both Buffy and Angel that could have added to this, and it's interesting not seeing them attached. So the people that are attached are Nora Zuckerman and Lila Zuckerman. They're writing the pilot. And then Chloe Zhao is attached to direct. There's a big name director coming in too. I'm excited. I'm a big Buffy fan. Love that show. Loved Angel. I'm of the right, generation that was
right.
One of my favorites. So I'm excited.
No, I think that'll be cool. I talked about that on a live stream that I was on. We talked a little bit about Buffy on the live stream where I was doing the membership drive, and somebody said the gal who plays I can't think of her name, the magic user gal,
Allison Hannigan.
Yeah, but she's also in talks right now.
Oh, okay. Played Willow. Yeah,
Willow, that's her. Willow.
She's one of my favorite characters from the show. Yeah, definitely would love to see a lot of the original people involved. I mean, I'm also okay if not everybody needs to come back. It doesn't need to be something like that. But I will say, one of my favorite people of all time, James Marsters, not to be confused with James Marsden, but James Marsters, who played Spike, who I have the pleasure of meeting before, and he narrates one of my favorite book series on audiobook. Fantastic actor. I'd love to see him involved big time.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. So I have a lot of hope for that, because
it'd be really cool if we could bring him back and Angel. It'd be great.
Yeah, Xander, which is what, Nicholas Brendan.
Yeah,
he shouldn't be brought back, most likely. The character maybe, but not the character, not the actor. Yeah, and Michelle Trachtenberg had kind of an unfortunate Hollywood experience after that. Eliza Dushku coming back as Faith. That would be awesome. Yeah, definitely cool.
There's such a great cast of characters in that show.
Yeah. I should have brought this up. The next story, I kind of jumped ahead a little bit. This is a real quick, kind of thing here, but we do have new Thunderbolts team coming that kind of aligns a little bit more closely with the MCU. Obviously we got Bucky back in charge. We got Black Widow there. Got USA Agent, Red Guardian. A couple different lineup appearances in the lineup there. You got Shang-Chi. Was that Agent Carter? And then it's a Contessa back there. Who's that?
Is that Contessa on the very back?
I think it is tied up.
Okay.
Or maybe she's not tied up. I could be wrong there. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought she was like tied up in the background.
Oh, I don't know.
It probably says. I should probably just read this. With the help of Allegra DeFontaine, the new Thunderbolts roster includes Black Widow, White Widow, Red Guardian, Destroyer, which is Sharon Carter now, U.S. Agent, and Shang-Chi. So there you go. Coming us from Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig, spins out the events of the Captain America Sentinel Liberty comic. I just thought it was neat. I tend to like when, Thunderbolts haven't really been a thing. I think maybe I'm wrong. I thought the last Thunderbolts team was kind of the Red Hulk led team. Maybe there was a version.
Yeah, the Thunderbolt Ross one, right?
Yeah. Which all the characters were red, kind of. The redder bolts. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was a team after that, but that was kind of the last big one that I can think of. Yeah, just the wardrobe. I see that now. At first I was like, oh, she's just got ropes across her chest for, comic book reasons. But yeah, so I think it's kind of cool when they try to align a little bit more closely and bring back things we haven't seen. This is interesting.
Trope says there was a New York City team under the Kingpin's control.
That makes sense too. I don't remember that run at all, obviously, which just speaks to my.
Wasn't that was during that whole King in Black thing, right? I think that happened during.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh gosh, I vaguely remember that now.
Yeah,
King in Black
Taskmaster was part of the team.
Okay. Well, I mean, there you go. There's another member that kind of makes sense then to be in there.
Yeah.
This is a big one. I thought you'd probably be the best person to talk about this one, Bigby. I think you know a little bit more about magic than I do. By that, I mean probably a lot more.
They've been toying with that idea for a while. I hope it comes to fruition. But Magic the Gathering has, for those who aren't aware, has a really big lore attached to it. There's been novels that have come out with every set. And so, I know there's one of the main characters. It's a planeswalker. His name's Chandra, and they had announced a Chandra show on Netflix, and then that got canceled. So it'll be interesting to see if this actually comes to fruition.
Well, and it's interesting too. That's coming from Legendary. Like this article even points out, I think of Legendary still. It's kind of like almost like a B movie kind of studio from back in the day. It's kind of how they started, but. I mean, they've done Dune, they've done the Godzilla versus Kong movies, they did Detective Pikachu. Like they can handle a blockbuster IP, large budget special effects film.
That's cool. I mean, they're trying to expand that monster cinematic universe with the Godzilla stuff. So
yeah,
they're kind of trying to do that whole idea. So.
Good point about the Wizards of the Coast Hasbro connection now too, because we need to see some G.I. Joe and versus the Transformers or the Transformers or whatever they're going to end up doing. We need to see some of that. We need to see I want some live action Joe, damn it.
Right.
But yeah, again, just kind of quick stories, nothing to kind of deep dive necessarily on.
Earth shattering, but some cool stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if we really need to talk about that. There was something about I guess I'll bring it up. Why not? We'll talk about it real fast. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. It is interesting to me that Daredevil Born Again, this is coming from Cinema Blend. A lot of people excited for that. I'm really excited for the trailer. The trailer for that looked amazing. It had me stoked right back for Daredevil again. John Bernthal coming back as Punisher, Deborah Ann Wool coming back. I forgot Foggy's actor name. I'm so sorry for the guy that plays Foggy, but he did a great job too. He's coming back. But one major cast member will not be coming back, apparently. because there's a casting call out there for a recurring role, a female character in her 40s of Greek descent with a 1-year contract.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, so people are saying that Elektra might be recast. Now, I will say the one thing about that, and I don't know if this is slightly ageist of me. I don't even know how old the actress was that played her, but would Elektra, if you cast a new Elektra or brought her in, would you want her to be in her 40s?
Yeah, that's
the only thing about that stuck out to me. I can't recall how old the actress was that played in the original Netflix Daredevil series. I mean, Charlie Cox it makes sense to be contemporary to his age,
right?
But I think of, you probably would want somebody, because Elektra, I mean, they could do a whole thing where they could have Elektra spin off to be, Daredevil eventually, right? Like they could do all that kind of stuff. Like,
right,
you probably would want a younger actor, I would think, if you're going to recast specifically,
right?
But it's interesting.
Comic book accurate. She becomes Daredevil after a while.
Yeah. And you can kind of get more years out of Daredevil. I mean, hopefully Charlie Cox does the Daredevil thing. Like, I think he deserves a TV show. I think he deserves live action movies, whether or not it's just Daredevil or as part of maybe a small ensemble cast or something like that. I'd like to see him on the big screen personally. I think he deserves it. Well, I guess technically he already was with No Way Home.
Right. Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I mean, and even when she becomes Daredevil, he's in prison and stuff. So I mean, he's still Daredevil.
yeah, of course, absolutely. This we'll use as a segue to talk about kind of our next major talking point, which is that Rob Liefeld, creator of Deadpool, which we're going to talk about more in detail here in a second, pointed out that the street that the Fantastic Four trailer shot here in the trailer is for they're watching TV in the showroom window kind of thing. That's actually the street from Deadpool and Wolverine, which is kind of cool.
Really? No.
Yeah. There's really not much else to it, but I think it's funny what do they call it? Liefeld's Only Feed or whatever the hell they call it. I can't remember the name of the shop. But it'd be funny if this is actually in, like, from the other perspective, like this is inside Liefeld's shop. That'd be hilarious.
That's crazy.
I don't know that it is, but it's got to be close by if you recognize it as the set. So this is something that I don't feel super qualified to talk about. And I feel like everybody thinks they're an expert on these days. So this is kind of our next tiny bit of story before we get to the main topic. Valiant Comics says the $4.99 comic is over because of tariffs. And this is on Bleeding Cool. Feel free to go through and read this. I'll actually, just to give them credit. Yeah, it is, Chris, it is a set. I think it's part of like one of their main studio sets. I'll post the link for this in chat. If you guys want to go read the whole article, please do. I just wanted to kind of use this more as a talking point because tariffs have been, we haven't had a chance to talk about this live yet. The topic of tariffs, which is far into the political spheres we're going to go, is talking about tariffs possibly being enacted. I just want to throw that out there. I guess the other interesting part here is the $4.99 comic is over, which, man, $4.99 is already hard for me to, that still hurts just seeing it.
Yeah.
Thinking about it going up to $5.99 is just rough. A lot less comics will be purchased, is my guess. Excuse me.
I remember back in the day when they were printing US and Canadian prices on the covers, and they couldn't even keep up with the fluctuation of exchange rate and stuff and everything. So I wonder if it's going to be one of those situations where they don't even put the Canadian price on the cover anymore. Or...
Right. It is interesting. I mean, and some of this ties in, there's obviously connections here to the whole diamond situation. People pointed out, there's a lot of mention in this article, and you go read it if you want to, about Canadian printers and Chinese printers for comic books. There seems to be, to me, a little bit of murkiness as far as for which printers are actually getting used for which companies and in what numbers. I do know a couple people that are in the industry that pointed out there's actually more US printers out there than people seem to think. So maybe it's possible that some of these printers can transition to being used to avoid some of the increase in cost. Then again, it might be more expensive to print here, even at those printers in general, than it is to print in, like, say, China is probably China. Then you got to ship it all over here is the part that's crazy to me.
Right.
Canada makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Canada has been being used for a lot of printing for a long time. So
yeah, and which obviously makes sense, and we're talking about if a lot of it's happening in Canada, it seems that they're only logical that there would be an increase in prices.
So Chris is probably up on it more than we are, saying there are no printers set up to do both covers and interior
at scale. Okay, it would take years of demand to let us build that industry back up. Okay, so just from what I heard from a couple people is that there is a potential, but it might take a longer to switch over. That actually makes sense to me. That it would be a very slow, like turning the Titanic around kind of a thing, to get that set up. So look, I'm just going to go back to my point that I made, which is that $4.99 is a tough pill to swallow when it comes to comic books as it is. For me, I'm very much like in a $3.99 feels right for comic books. I mean, $2.99 feels great. $3.99 feels right. Some of these bigger books that you go and they're like $6.99 or $7.99 already because they're larger
format or
64 page, whatever. Those feel rough. Like when I was ordering comics every week, I would pay attention to that. And there was some books where it's like, man, like, there's 2 or 3 variant covers that I really love for this book, but it's like at $7 a pop or sometimes $10 a pop if they're kind of that like square bound almost kind of style, right, that they do.
Right.
Dude, forget it. It's just too much. And I know this is going to be bad for shops. This is going to be bad for, we're talking about distributors are already having problems, obviously, which this isn't, this isn't going to help. I think that's the easiest way to say that.
Right.
So, yeah, DC is expensive when it comes to that. So Chris said that Canada and China have cheaper lumber prices and printers that can do the full comic, less room for error than using 2 to 3 printers. Okay. Options would be to ditch color, which is interesting. That is interesting. Or switch to bi-monthly instead of monthly so they could be bigger. That is interesting too. Yeah, Distillery does do that. Good point. Yeah, most of the books you get are I know that they've definitely crept up to that price. It's funny because I've switched over to reading digital so much, and a lot of that reading is on Marvel Unlimited, or for like my image stuff, for example, I buy it through Kindle and read it on their Kindle Reader app. It's basically like the old Comixology at this point. But it's funny if you wait long enough, like I think it's like around the same time that maybe 3 months is the time it usually takes things to hit Marvel Unlimited, they drop the price down to $1.99. And I just buy those. Like, so I'm reading Transformers a little bit behind. I'm reading G.I. Joe a little bit behind. The Turncoat or Redcoat, all that stuff. I'm reading all those books a little bit behind because $1.99. It's like, that's the other part of this. If comics go to $5.99 as a standard price point for a brand new comic book, let's just say they all do. If digital follows suit, it makes 0 sense to me because you're raising the price because of printer costs.
Right.
Keep the digital prices lower, man. They should be already because there's less overhead involved.
Yeah, it's interesting what Rad said about wonder what Spawn will cost, because Spawn's been kept at $2.99, right?
Yep. Let me highlight that right there. Yeah, and I really am curious. Todd has made that. Todd, like we're best buddies. Todd McFarlane has made that a point of pride to keep it at $2.99, and he's even insinuated, if not straight out said, that even if it cost money he would still do that.
Right.
At some point, I don't know where that's still worth it. But compact comics are a good value. Those are printed in Canada and China as well. Yep, good point. Yeah, Distillery has been fun. I don't like the form factor. I'm one of those fuddy-duddies. Even though I have some Distillery books, I don't like the magazine size. And I wish that they would have went away from that. I get it with they say, the art pops more, and it's kind of true, but I know for a fact it's holding them back. I know there's a lot of people that just will not buy magazine sized books. Unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, no, that always makes it like more, it's more of a hindrance, right?
Yeah. It's
picking up your book.
For too many collectors, they're like, oh, I don't want to buy magazine boxes, and I don't want to buy, magazine supply,
the bags and the boards, and
got to keep them separate now instead of like putting them in. And I use that kind of voice, but I get it too at the same time. I've bought a decent amount of Distillery. Excuse me. Oh, didn't have a second cup of coffee today. Distillery is one of those companies that at least strongly is supporting digital. They could do better on the pricing. I think any company that's selling comic books digitally, it should be cheaper to buy digitally day one. Even if that's 10%, 20%. I absolutely think that's how it should be. That's just my opinion. Chris says if you had to have one printer in the US do interiors, then pay to ship them all to a printer set up for covers, then pay to ship those to a distributor, you're right back to not saving money. Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. But he said, to be clear,
right now Canada has negotiated for the exact same trade deal they agreed to with Biden, so they shouldn't get the tariff hike. Not sure about China yet, and that's worth pointing out. I said, don't worry, folks, this isn't going to get overly political. We're just talking about the actual ramifications of the comic books here, but it is worth pointing out there is a certain amount of this could be maneuvering or posturing or strategy, and may not actually take place long term. In my very layman opinion about this, I think it's possible.
I thought it was interesting, going back to the Super Bowl, there was an ad for Canada, your friendly neighbors to the north.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, it is possible that we'll see a lot of concern over nothing. And I mean, that would probably be the best case at this point. So it's fascinating. I hope, to all my people that work in comic books out there that could be affected negatively by increased prices, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't happen. But it probably will. So,
well, price creep is a thing.
Yep, absolutely.
It is. When you started collecting, where was it?
I think it was still like 70 cents.
75
cents. Yeah, I think 60 cents maybe.
It was 65 and then 75, or 60, okay. 65 and then 75.
Yeah, I guess it was 65 then.
Yeah.
But I it's so hard to remember because I wasn't, the comics I was getting then were bought for me off the rack, and I never was paying attention to the price on the front.
Right. Right. I remember when they went up to 75 cents, I was like, oh man, bummer.
Well, I always get mixed up too, because when it was 65 cents, it would have been 75 cents for the Canadian price variant, right?
Right.
Yeah, so it kind of mixes me up there too. Maybe I'm thinking about that.
Sales have skyrocketed on
USA versus. Oh yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Image reported that they had more sold copies of We Stand on Guard this week than the entire rest of the past year. I remember I gave away a copy of We Stand on Guard as one of my giveaways, probably like, I don't know, 7-8 months ago or something like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting. 12 cents. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
There you go.
How old were you, man? Or how old were you? What price were they when you first started collecting? Not how old were you?
Me?
Yeah.
60 cents.
60. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 12 center, man. Love 12 centers. Now I'm very happy to find 12 centers.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm sure it's doing well, but I doubt it's put through college. But it is funny to see it shoot up. It also makes me wonder if Captain Canuck or any of those kind of characters will increase in value a little bit, or that other weird Canadian guy. What's his name? Deadpool.
Wolverine.
Yeah.
Alpha Flight.
Yeah. I was trying to think of Roy Thomas character. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Speaking of Roy Thomas,
Sasquatch. There you go.
Yeah, Sasquatch. Or Sabretooth. There you go. Another Canadian. Speaking of Roy Thomas, and believe me, it is connected.
And Canadians.
Yep, that's true. And Wolverine. It's all one circle here. Deadpool star. That's an interesting way to put that. I guess it makes sense. Deadpool star cuts ties with Marvel after Deadpool and Wolverine embarrassment. This is, sorry, there's like an image here that doesn't load because of my ad blocker or whatever. But this is basically the cover story that we talked about with Rob Liefeld. And the gist of the story here, for those that aren't familiar with the story and don't want to try to read it while I'm scrolling by, essentially, Rob Liefeld went to the Deadpool and Wolverine premiere last year. Obviously, huge deal, big film, big moment for him, as well as a lot of other people, Roy Thomas. No, but actually, because of that, I'll get to that in a second, I guess. So he felt jilted at this because he basically felt like he wasn't treated very well at the event, and he didn't get invited to the after party. Okay. So him and his family, which is, being embarrassed in front of your family is an extra layer of crappy. He thinks that it was meant to embarrass, diminish, and defeat him. And at some point you go, I've received the message, and the message is clear. This article also points out that, and he is one of the rare creators that receives a lot of money, from what I understand, for doing a character that ends up becoming popular. I guess just because of how his contract was structured or something. But he receives a large sum of money from these adaptations. But here's the part that is Roy Thomas related. He revealed that part of the conversation before this is that he wanted a special credit, and he wanted it in a different way than is normally given to comic book creators, where it comes at the end of the film with like a near the music, near the final post-credit scene in Marvel movies. Usually, they usually thank all the creators, right?
Right.
Kind of famously, they didn't thank a few for this film, and some other ones recently too, by the way. But they did thank Roy Thomas. And he pointed out that his request stemmed from Marvel's decision to give Roy Thomas a Wolverine co-creator status alongside Len Wein and John Romita Sr. And so he wanted, the gist of it basically is, from what I read, is he wanted his name at the beginning of the movie as kind of the creators of Wolverine, which that's not unprecedented. There have been, Superman, created credits sometimes appears at the beginning of a movie, or you've seen like created by Stan Lee, I think has even appeared at the beginning of the movie, I want to say, and Jack Kirby, I'm pretty sure, in some of the Fox films. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with Chris here. I definitely want to get your opinion.
Yeah,
what do you think about
thought
that?
He had gotten in some of the earlier Deadpool movies, he had gotten beginning of the movie credit where it said Rob Liefeld in the, when they're showing all the cartoon sketches and stuff of Deadpool as he's.
Well, it's funny because in Deadpool 1, if you go back and remember how they show the credits for that, the credits were all like a joke, basically.
Is it the credit? I thought that was the second one where they were all a joke there, because he's like,
well, in both they are, but in the first one, it's like it's stuff flying out of Deadpool's wallet, and it's like,
oh right, this is something
idiots
like
that brought
guy
you...
who can't draw feet or something like that.
Yeah, by the guy who can't draw feet, Rob Liefeld, or something like that. But now I'm kind of blanking on all the specifics, but it was basically every single one was a joke,
right?
Which is fine, but it also gave them credit.
Right.
Yeah, starring God's perfect idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting if Psycho Phil's right here, and he's pissed that they
I
poked
thought
fun at it.
he thought that was, well, there was a article about that, and he thought it was actually kind of a homage to him, so that was kind of cool. So
he either pretended to be flattered by it or was indeed flattered by it. It's kind of hard to say for sure, but he publicly seemed to be acknowledging that it was kind of a nice tongue-in-cheek reference there. So he did another thing too. I should point out here. He said that he claimed that his response did not get received in the way he received in the way he was after. Oh, received in the way he was after. Sorry, I read that wrong. Tweeting, "My reps were screamed at today. We are not Fox." Going back to the Fox films for how he was received credit. So I wanted to make sure we close that loop here. Yeah. Are you misremembering that Deadpool was created by Rob Liefeld and Fabian Nicieza? No, that is the creative team. I mean, I know a really good YouTuber out there who made a video kind of claiming that you should give credit to some other people for creating Deadpool too. Right. I think he did a really good job. I'm speaking about Chris Comic Tropes here, by the way. Go check out his channel where he did a great video on that. And I completely agree. You have to draw the line somewhere. And I think that, including a list of creators at the end that are notable for being involved for especially things that were specific to that film, if they included moments or artwork homages or any of those kinds of things. And they did a lot of that in this film. But I do think that, especially, I've said it before, if you want to attract top talent to create amazing stories that get adapted into films, treat them well, and so-and-so created by that's not too much to ask for. I think with some comic books, it could get a little weird in the language sometimes, depending on how many people are involved, but I think there's ways to elegantly handle that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess to me, it's just easier than they make it seem out to be. I do wonder, Rob Liefeld has a bit of a reputation as being
somewhat of a diva.
Yeah, and I was trying to think if that's really how I guess that's a good way to word it. Somewhat of a I would say maybe just self-important.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying undeservedly so, but I think that I'm one of those people that tends to shy away from that type of personality, right? Like, that's just me in general. Even if he deserves it, it's like, all right, well, it's better if you don't say it. Like, that's just how I am, right? Even if it is true. But I think in this case, he deserved it. Probably. Then again, how did he ask? Right? We don't know that.
Right. I like what Chris said, that Rob absolutely co-created the character, but it's not the Deadpool that everybody loves that he created.
and this is why I love the video that he did, because it is almost like the exception that proves the rule, where sometimes a creator isn't the driving force behind what makes a character popular or loved.
Right.
I think, like, not to rehash the story here, it's been told a million times and people know most of this, but essentially you've got a crappy Deathstroke the Terminator clone, and you could, it's impossible to say for sure, but it seems like Fabian Nicieza probably breathed some life into that character that made him worth exploring later on by different creators that I think fleshed him out a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah. Figure Drunk's pointing out some stuff here. Rob Liefeld's Whatnot streams are things of legend. Who moves the needle in comics these days? And he answered Dan Mora, and he exploded, legit raged, told me to get out of there with that name.
Wow.
Which is funny, because Dan Mora he's definitely, I don't know if I'd say he's the guy necessarily, but he's definitely one of the best in comics right now. So,
yeah, Chris's video though is really great about
Yeah.
like showing the evolution of that character. So if you
Yeah.
guys are interested in finding out about that, definitely go watch that.
Yeah, his Whatnot streams, I've heard just so many people getting like banned or booted for just making a joke, but not even at, excuse me again, not even at him, just kind of in general. They're joking around and they get banned or whatever. And I don't know.
Right.
He's there to do business and kind of either, you know, it's his way or the highway is kind of what it seems like. Good point from Chris here too, that he got invited and visited the set. So they seemed kind enough to him. Yeah, I have a feeling this is one of those, you kind of have to know both sides stories probably to get the full picture. He had accurate criticisms of Marvel, too many variant covers crowding shelves. I totally agree with that. That's accurate. No new character since Deadpool, just derivative ones, which is kind of funny because I'd say Deadpool is derivative as well, but I love Deadpool. Don't get me wrong. I love Deadpool, but I also think he's derivative. He's no more derivative than Miles Morales. Let's put it that way. No more or less, probably. Yeah, I hate seeing that. Damage comics and toy boxes after someone wins because it's funny to him. I've seen creators do that before, and it's weird. Like, it's one thing to accidentally damage something, but
yeah, that's really awful.
Yeah, because especially in a platform where, like, I can only imagine in a Rob Liefeld stream, I can only imagine what some of these things go for. They probably go for a decent amount, knowing Whatnot and knowing popular rooms where people are really, you know, I've seen Todd McFarlane streams where it's like, that's a cool comic book. It just went for 6 times what it's worth, you know, or whatever, right? On the open market, and that happens. And then if somebody did that to it, it would piss me off. I've heard a couple other names of people that do that, kind of seemingly on purpose or to laugh at people that paid money for their stuff, and it's just weird to me. So I guess my point is, to me, he's a polarizing figure. Yet I totally think he's got a good point here, at least in the base.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope that they would treat him with a little more respect than that. But at the same time, if they're sending bucket loads of cash his way, what point do you go, shut up and take the money, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think to me, the sad part of that just kind of is hard to get away from is just how lopsided it is for a lot of other creators that don't receive that revenue stream that he does for their creations, or to get acknowledgement, you know, which.
Right. But I mean, he's not, it's not that he's not getting any acknowledgement for creating that character. It's like, he felt a little snubbed, and that's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Yeah. Joe Kelly, and McGinnis definitely had a huge hand in Deadpool. I think that's the gist of, the thesis, at least, of Comic Tropes video. And I recommend checking it out. It's funny, they've kind of done Matt Fraction dirty and made him, you know, like we see Hawkeye referred to as Matt Fraction's Hawkeye, where the artist David Aja doesn't get enough credit for that sometimes, and he's a huge part of the style. When people are referring to the style, they sometimes call it the Matt Fraction Hawkeye, that kind of thing.
Right. Kind of double-edged sword there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I watched that the Monarch Legacy of Monsters. It had Matt Fraction's name in that.
Yeah, he's the, I don't know if he's the sole creator or co-creator of that. He's done a lot of, or he's transitioning to doing more TV work, is kind of what it seems like. I should say, or more, I guess, film.
It was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
I like that show. I like that show more than the current Godzilla Kong films that are out there. Quite a bit. Yeah. I mean, the -1 is its own thing. I'm not trying to include that.
Totally different universe. Yeah.
Yeah. The legendary Monarch.
I like the newest Godzilla Kong movie. I know probably didn't get the greatest reviews, but I thought it was all right.
Yeah. I think that most of those have been fun. The only one that was a little rough it was just because it was so almost kind of one note, was the original, I guess it would be the original Monarch Godzilla film that had Craven and Quicksilver in it, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Was he in that?
And it had the one who knocks, so terrible with names. Walter White had him in the very beginning, but he ends up dying.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, thank you. He like sacrifices himself in the beginning of the film, basically, but he was sold as being a big part of it in the trailer. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, just it's funny. I was actually just reading about Bryan Cranston earlier today, and I still couldn't remember his name. Okay, he's co-creator. So there you go.
I was watching something about toys earlier today. It was like talking about. It was like it was back in the day. A Florida woman complained about Breaking Bad toys, and put up a petition, and Bryan Cranston wrote an article, said he was so upset that he was burning his Florida woman action figure.
I love Bryan Cranston. That guy's awesome.
It's hilarious.
Well, hey, you'll be back, but so will we. We'll be back next week, Christina. Thanks for coming in here. We're actually kind of wrapping up right now. But we'll be back next week. We do know our topic because it was the one that we're going to cover last week. And I think it's a fun one. I think it's going to be kind of one that people, if you're willing to kind of self-reflect and look inside yourself a little bit, first of all, gross. Second of all, you might enjoy it a little bit because it is about self-reflection. It's about people don't talk about this very often. It's a great topic. I'm really glad that Brian brought it up. Brian, by the way, I mean Bryan Cranston brought it up. He suggested it was a really good topic. We're going to talk about significant others, girlfriends, boyfriends, wives, husbands. You know what significant others means, and how they feel about your collecting. Whether that could be your action figures, your Lego, your stamp collection, but primarily comic books. I'm going to do a little kind of a quiz. I'm going to put it up on my my community tab on YouTube, and kind of ask your significant other about these things and what do they think. And I'm going to do the same thing with my Copper Age babe, aka Autumn, my wife, and see what she says, and we'll kind of discuss that and whether or not it's been a problem for either Bigby or I at any point in the past, or how we've kind of navigated that. And then of course we'll hope to interact with chat and get all of your opinions on that as well. So
sure. Jay says Malcolm in the Middle's coming back. That'd be kind of a cool show to see. Modernized characters, all adults.
No way. Like coming back. Wow. That's a crazy one. I didn't know that.
Could be fun.
Isn't the youngest kid from that show, doesn't he have some sort of medical condition where he's actually way older than he looks? Is he one of those? I thought he had some kind of genetic disorder.
I had no idea.
I think you might be thinking of the show The Middle.
That could be it. Thank you. There is some child actor who's quite a bit older than they look. I know that. Oh, okay. That's too bad.
The kid from Malcolm died?
I think from the kid from the middle, I think is what he means.
Well,
maybe not. I could be wrong. Comic tropes, that's a real wow. I mean, ain't that a kick in the dick?
I mean, unless you like that kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, it could also, it definitely could be good for you. It depends on how it shakes out for you.
Honey, I spent some more money on comics.
Yeah. Just kidding. Atticus Schaefer still alive. Okay. Good to know. Well, that's our show. You got anything coming up this week that we need to know about, Bigby?
I'm going to be doing a giveaway coming up here on the 15th for the membership drive. So we'll have that to look forward to.
Go become a member over there.
Yes, sir.
I one other thing I do want to mention is coming up on the EXP to kind of plug them real fast. We do have Kicking It with Henri is also going to be on the EXP tomorrow night at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, 7 Pacific. Definitely go check out that. It's another great claim sale show that I've personally bought from before and really enjoyed. So that's another great show. Again, the link is in the description. go sub up and watch all their shows, check them all out, see which ones you like, do that homework, come back here next week and let us know which ones you thought were the best. I will say I recorded a video for the first time in a long time the night before I got, super sick. And it no longer could be used because of timing stuff. But I do plan on re-recording a new version of that for this week. And so you will be seeing new content coming out from me that I'm excited to finally get out there. So I think a lot of my viewers are going to be really excited to see that. Stay tuned if you're into my stuff, which there hasn't been a whole lot of besides this show, I do acknowledge. But I did record it and I felt really good about recording. I was really excited to release it. And by the time I could have sat down to edit it, most of it wasn't relevant anymore. Yeah, I will say Matt was awesome. He helped out with Heroes for Heroes. I caught him at the end of Rose City Comic Con. He just got done doing a panel. He was super polite and willing to sign something, even though he was basically, socially trying to organize going out and drinking with a bunch of other comic creators and showbiz people and stuff. And still was willing to sign something for Heroes for Heroes. So we do appreciate that. So good shout out to Matt Fraction.
He was awesome.
Yeah, very awesome experience. And speaking of awesome, come on back next week where you can experience more awesome here on Best Coast Comics at 8 p.m. Pacific. We will be back with another wonderful show. We hope you all enjoy it. Don't forget to send in your community artwork and keep your eyes peeled on myself and Bigby's Instagram for community art voting for the finalist. And until next time, we'll catch you next week.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.